Money Monday is brought to you by Anderson Brothers Bank.
Americans were dealt a tough hand this year and despite relief programs, may have incurred a mountain of debt. On this Money Monday, we want to talk about prioritizing your debt to help you get back on track. We're joined by Andrea Bopp Stark, an attorney at the National Consumer Law Center. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you.
All right, so heads are swimming right now because bills are piling up. Income may still be low. Certain things are timing out. So first of all, where should people be in their mindset to now face head on the obligations, the financial obligations that they have at this point?
Sure. And as you said, it is kind of a perfect storm of debt collection right now. We're seeing unemployment benefits, the added unemployment benefits are going to stop soon or have stopped. We are seeing that eviction moratorium, foreclosure moratoriums are ending. So people are going to be hit with a lot of debt that is going to become due right away. And so one of the things that we encourage consumers to do is prioritize that debt. Prioritize the debt to figure out which debt, if you don't pay it, would actually cause harm to you and your family. And so that debt includes, for example, court judgment debt. If you have a judgment against you, if a credit card company or some creditor has sued you and you have a court order saying you owe that money, then you're going to want to try and create a payment plan or pay that debt, because not paying that debt could result in a garnishment of wages or a garnishment of a bank account, depending on your state's law. Another priority debt is going to be your rent or your mortgage, because non-payment of that obviously can result in harm to you with eviction or foreclosure. Auto loans are very important right now to try and stay on top of and prioritize those. Transportation is so important now, where public transportation is not as accessible because of COVID-19, and so having a working car for many families is crucial. I would also say child support debt is very important to stay on top of, because that can have serious consequences for failure to pay. And then utility debt, if to keep the lights on, to keep the air conditioner on, to keep the utilities going, and especially to keep the broadband and the Wi-Fi on. So many of the relief options available are accessible by your computer.
If I can just interrupt you real quick. So if I may, I know utilities certainly are very important, but something that caught my attention, what you said earlier about judgments and credit cards that have actually secured a judgment against you, and then the garnishment of wages. Can they go after personal property? I mean, let's say you don't have an income. Can they still go after, say, your home or some other property?
Well, that's trickier, and each state is different. Each state has different exemption rules and laws, and so in some states, personal property is exempt up to a certain amount. In some states, it's not. Some states allow garnishment of bank accounts. Some states do not. So it's really important to see in your state what is protected, and make sure your property is protected, your bank account, your wages, and up to what amount are they protected.
Okay, so we understand what the essentials are that we need to make sure we secure enough funds to pay. What about credit cards, student loans? Where do those fall?
So credit cards are a lower priority debt if you haven't been sued on the debt yet, because they're not secured by any of your property, and the non-payment of that debt can wait. The non-payment of that debt isn't going to cause an immediate harm to your family. So credit card debt and medical debt too can potentially be a lower priority than, say, your housing or your car payment.
And how about student loans?
Student loans, especially the private student loans, may have a consequence. You're going to want to look into that as well. There's some relief under the federal government, the CARES Act for student loans. So you're going to want to look into that as well, but definitely connect with your student loan servicer to find out what relief is available.
Because it is also the one debt that you cannot file bankruptcy and have it forgiven.
Correct.
It stays with you until the day you kick. unless you paid it off, of course. And on the note of credit cards, I want to know if there's any information that consumers should be armed with when they make those phone calls. We're going to talk about that after the break. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. On this Money Monday, we've been chatting with Andrea Bopp Stark, an attorney at the National Consumer Law Center, and we were just talking about prioritizing your debt. So we're living in this COVID-19 era where bills are piling up, things are coming due, even though a lot of people have not been able to go back to work or go back to work fully. So to preemptively strike is always kind of a good idea, at least in my book. You don't want to wait for the debt collector to be banging down your door, right, Andrea? So when you call your credit card company, is there any information that the consumer should have in their pocket that maybe the person on the other end of the line isn't giving you certain options?
Well, I'm not so sure about that, but I do know a lot of credit card companies are allowing forbearance agreements. And what is a forbearance? A forbearance is a temporary halt of your payment. It doesn't mean you don't owe the payment, but it just holds it or keeps it in place for maybe 3 months or more while you try and get back on your feet. And so no payment is owed during that time, but you have to remember that you will owe those payments eventually. So that is something you can suggest and ask for. Is there a forbearance agreement available where I just get some breathing room here, a temporary halt on my payments until I can catch up and start making payments again? And I would also advise just being very on top of how much you owe and how much you realistically can pay. Like, don't be coerced or harassed into paying more than you are comfortable paying, more than you can afford. So after you do that budget, if you have any money left over for credit card bills, figure out how much that is and stick to that and try and create a plan that allows you to pay only amount that's realistic and sustainable.
So is it more beneficial for the credit card company to at least receive something from the consumer as opposed to just writing it off and canceling the debt?
Yes. I would say most credit card companies want to get cash in the door and they want to get some payment rather than zero payment.
So there's some incentive there. There's some incentive. For anybody who is strictly just credit card debt all day long, should they focus on the largest amount or the largest interest rate?
So if all they have is credit card debt, if it's unmanageable, I do just want to mention bankruptcy may be an option. So they should definitely talk to a bankruptcy attorney about that as an option if it just seems unsurmountable and it just seems like an amount they'll never be able to pay regardless of the minimum payment that they're making every month. But if they think that it is approachable and they may be able to create a payment plan, they should look at the highest interest rate. Yes, the one with the highest interest rate. Compared to the one with the highest balance, just see which one is causing the highest payment each month and then try and whittle down accordingly.
And what you said previously can also apply. Just get on the phone with your credit card companies and just say, look, this is what I can pay. Let's work something out. All right. Finally, Andrea, can you tell us any other resources that people can find online that can help further educate them on this?
Yes, absolutely. So NCLC has this book called Surviving Debt, and I would recommend this highly to anybody struggling with debt. This is both for consumers and for advocates and attorneys working with consumers to try and get debt under control. It provides a guide on prioritizing the debt, but then each chapter goes into each individual debt and how you might negotiate with the creditor on getting that debt paid. And then it talks about, it provides sample letters you might send to a debt collector to stop the harassment, to stop the coercion, the contact. So it's a very valuable resource.
Terrific. Andrea, thank you so much. You've given us wonderful tools today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
We'll be right back.
Money Monday is brought to you by Anderson Brothers Bank.